Yeah.
You know, or us 40-somethings who grew up listening to his music.
Yeah.
Okay. The reason why Ani DeFranco or Dar Williams or you know, or et cetera, can break through some of those age boundaries is because they themselves are younger and are able to speak to that. I mean, I think it's interesting. You know, Susan Werner, for instance, is probably you know, is probably 12 or 13 years younger than you and I, and yet she reaches an audience. You know, her mean audience is our age group.
Right.
She's not reaching that younger audience. So there are exceptions to every rule. But if you want to have a whole bunch of 20-somethings, then bring in a bunch of 20-something artists. And I would submit that in traditional music and rooted music, that there are like a tremendous number of young people that are involved. Even in like the Celtic world, there's a lot of young folks.
Okay.
There's a couple of really hot old-time bands, old-time country music bands that are young.
Right.
They're sort of rediscovered stuff. So your rooted music, you know, your non-singer-songwriter portion of folk music, there are young people that are out there, and I think that if you attract them, you bring them in. Well, look at Cordelia's dad.
Right.
A great example. Here are people that, you know, they can go and they can do their show in a punk club for a bunch of slam dancing, and it's the same freaking show
Right.
that you know, that any number of artists that we could name are doing in coffee houses for audiences a third the size of people sitting there with their hands folded in their lap.
Right.
You know, and if you without knowing who people are, if you put the record on, you know, if you put the CD on and you listen to it,
Yeah.
I would defy you to really identify, oh, well, this is why this is. You know, it's totally about the fact that Cordelia's dad has body piercings and tattoos,
Right.
and et cetera, and you know, but they've been able, but those people were able to find that core something in this music, which is like what inspires me to like it.
Sure.
And in the same way, you know, we did an article in the magazine about 6 or 7 years ago now called Generation F that we highlighted, you know, 6 or 7 artists who at the time were under the age of 25, who were out there in the scene, you know, making music on one level or another.
Yeah, I remember that. Was that a cover or at least?
Yeah, it was a cover.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay.
So, you know, so yeah, we have an aging audience, but I think the solution to it is, number one, is recognizing that contemporary original songs are going to generally reach an audience that's the age of the people that are writing the songs and performing them.
Okay.
You know, how many Perry Como concerts did you go to when you were
Right.
in college? You know.
Yeah.
And you know, and B, increase our emphasis in traditional music and in revealing and sharing how that traditional music is being shared to a next generation, and you're bound to inspire.
Yeah. How do the mechanics work of those conferences? Who puts together that plethora of panels and sessions?
The panels are they're done by the conference manager.
I see.
The panels are set up by people submitting ideas for panels.
I see.
And
Okay.
generally, I mean, if you look at them, there's even like a lot of repetition. I'm not under the impression that there's much real work to like sort of bring a certain kind of thought process
The panels.
to the panel discussions. I think that they're mostly, you know, people fill out the forms and say, I want to run a panel, and here's the people I'll put on it, and they say, oh, okay, go do it.
I see. Okay.
I don't, you know, I mean, what I would say is any time that I've ever come up with a panel idea and put it out there, that the panel's been on the schedule.
Right.
And I do think that there are a number of good panels, but I see, like there's a folk rock panel that I think is on the schedule again this year. It's only been had 3 or 4 years. It's a dopey panel to begin with.
Yeah.
It's not really, I don't think it's really about what we should be there discussing and trying to figure out under those kind of circumstances. At least unless there was a much larger variety of potential panels.
Right. Who do you think is out there? I'm asking you if you're willing to name people in a positive light. Do you know of any individuals that are really interested in the future of the organization and think about the things that the organization should be doing? And I'm looking quite bluntly for people to talk to who might have things to thoughtful things to say about the Folk Alliance. So I'm not asking you to name who you think are dolts.
Right. No. And the problem is more that I'm not sure who isn't already obvious.
Okay.
Anybody who wants to have something to say at the Folk Alliance can and does.
Right.
Trying to think of I assume you're talking to the board.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to the board. I'm starting with, I've been doing a lot of research with record companies, small record companies. I'm moving into my Folk Alliance phase over the last month or so. I've been working, Phyllis has been sending me stuff from early days so I can look at the minutes of Malibu and stuff like that. I'm contacting the steering committee members, which is how I came to contact you, although ultimately I would have gotten to you anyway had you not been there. Jeff Werner, somebody that I know and have talked to over the years, actually, about these things, just over coffee and stuff. Jeff Davis.
Both the Jeffs would be good to talk.
Yeah, Ken Irwin is somebody I know, and I've been working with him with respect to some of Rounder's work. And he's, Ken has thoughts about anything you ask him about usually. But,
any of the, it's easy enough to identify, the leaders in our larger community, and maybe the question is both, getting their impression about the Folk Alliance, whether they think that it's completely irrelevant to them or not.
yeah, that's what I'm interested in.
I think it's worth talking to people like Alan Jabor, who's the outgoing.
Right, president of the archive. Yeah.
Barry Paz. Somebody like John O'Connor, who's working with Local 1000.
Yeah.
Certainly this is another organization that is sort of aiming itself toward a similar constituency or very overlapping constituency. People like I've looked at some DJs that are out there. People like Rich Warren, who's on the board, Bob Blackman isn't, and Mike Reagan Street is up in Canada.
I don't know the name.
Matt Latrobe in Detroit. Mike Uhas, who the list mom of the folk DJ list.
Okay.
I think that they, in some cases, I don't know that I've ever really spoken to them about
Right.
Alliance issues. Not that I haven't spoken to them about sort of the broader issues involved.
Right.
But if you put 4 folkies in a room, you probably have 5 or 6 opinions.
Yeah.
So, I don't think there's really a shortage of that.
I've got a missive out to him, or he wrote back to me, in fact, said to call. Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, I would almost say that you could not only pick up any Folk Alliance directory and go through and just sort of, you know, pick any of those people and see what they have to say about things. But
What about contemporary singer-songwriters? Some of these maligned people at the traditional session, who you know, might have some thoughts about these issues from their standpoint. Have you encountered any of that? Because there's enough of them. I confess I wouldn't know who to call to say, you are a maligned contemporary singer-songwriter. What do you think about this dichotomy in the Folk Alliance, the traditionalists and you folks, and where you fit into the organization? Anyone there you know is a good talker, a good thinker?
well, I'd probably say Jack Hardy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that. You know, probably talking to, you know, some additional people to talk to would be like Al Grierson on the folk DJ list.
Okay.
Rick Pagliari.
Okay.
You know, I mean, my sense is that I can't imagine any of those, like of anybody, if you come up to them and say, "Oh, well, you're a singer-songwriter and everybody seems to hate you. What do you have to say about that?" You know.
Well, it's not.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm not accusing you of being that, you know, that
No,
blunt or.
that's not how I'd approach it.
About approaching it, but
Yeah.
I don't think that most of the singer-songwriters would rightly have a lot of complaints about the way that things are set up right now. They're pretty much being given free rein.
Oh, I think you're right. I just.
The issues that are out there, you know, I mean, I often say it's not the sin of who's there, it's the sin of who's not.
Sure.
You
Uh-huh.
know? And so, in some ways, I think it would be a lot more interesting to talk to some of these people that you've already identified to me as, like, maybe having shown up but then never coming back again.
Oh, yeah, and you know, along those lines, I noticed in the Malibu notes that, I guess it was the Weissmans who reported that they had made some overtures to ethnic, you know, representatives of ethnic groups that were doing their own vernacular art, but nobody came. I don't know if you remember any of that from 11 or 12 years ago, but...
Yeah, no, I mean, this is...
And I was wondering who that was, and the Weissmans might know.
Well, I mean, there were actually some that did come.
Uh-huh.
That the Weissmans had been able to specifically work with at their festivals, so they kind of behooved to show up in Malibu.
Right.
I mean, there are literally hundreds and
Sure.
hundreds of, you know, Swedish dance groups.
Absolutely, yeah.
Contra dance groups. You know, all, you know, I mean, well, you know, talk to the people at CDSS. You know, they have a segue into, you know, sort of one ethnic quadrant of, you know, of that kind of community. And
Right.
in general, they don't think that the Folk Alliance is for them or about them.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the big failings.
Sure.
I keep coming back to it.
Oh, I understand,
You
yeah.
have to outreach. You know,
Yeah.
you not only have to bring them there, but you have to demonstrate once they are there. You don't like bring in a bunch of those groups of people who are more about participation and less about, you know, sort of consuming.
Yeah.
And then ask them to just fit in a series of panels and showcases that are all about, like, gearing it toward getting hired at a coffee house.
Right.
It has nothing to do with what those people are doing.
Right.
And thus they consider it irrelevant.
Yes.
Might be worth talking to Ethel Rain.
Okay.
I don't know if she's ever been to a Folk Alliance conference. Why not?
Sure.
She's certainly somebody with strong ties to the folk community before she got so heavily involved in ethnic folk arts.
Right.
That maybe would be able to, verbalize or express what is missing for her,
Right.
why she's not there. But I mean, big way, say, I don't think this is like your job to do. You know, my complaint is, I think this is exactly what the board should be doing.
Oh, sure, yeah.
You know, what the edict should, it shouldn't be saying, all right, you know, we got this conference, let's argue about, you know, what the meal is going to be and whether it's going to be on Thursday or Friday.
Right.
You know, it should be saying, all right, you know, we've got like 1,500 singer-songwriters attending, but you know, how do we get these dance groups? You know, what kind of programming can we put out there so that we can include these people under, you know, under the, you know, the umbrella of people that we're serving?
Right.
You know, they're certainly under the, you know, under our supposed goals to serve that community.
Right.
Hey, you know, like, look, if the board got together tomorrow and said, you know something, screw all this traditional music, we're just going to cover the contemporary singer-songwriter community out there. Because of the work that I do, because it needs to also include contemporary singer-songwriters, I'd probably end up being back.
Right.
You know, I mean, I wouldn't just go, oh, well, then screw these people because they're not defining the folk music or taking the job. I'd probably be back, and I'd probably also be out there trying to start an organization that would serve the specific needs of everybody else who just got cut off.
Right.
So, you know, that's why I think that those are the kind of things more interesting questions.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Well, now I am going to go. But I really appreciate the time. I mean, I think we've beat the patents, which I didn't think could be done. But I really appreciate the time, and I may, you know, if you don't mind, as I plow through more and more of this, I may, you know, want to pick your brain again about something I hear. If that's all right with you. All right. Thanks very much, Roy.
Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.